Now it's time. Megan's already talked about nutrition, we've talked about fitness, and we've talked about the mental game. More importantly, right now, it's time to talk about your serve. One of the most important parts of the tennis game to be a successful tennis player is having a great serve. And we're going to go over 3 keys to really take your serve to the next level. Last week, Megan did a great job of talking about nutrition, the mental side of tennis, and the physical side. And to wrap it up this week, we're going to start talking about the serve, one of the most important shots in tennis. And make sure you have someone out videoing. It's so important that before you even start to serve, you video yourself so you can really take a look at what's going on. Because if you don't know what's happening, or if you think you know what's happening, it's probably not the same once you video yourself. So the 3 main components that we're going to work on with Ian here is his racket path, his contact, and also using his legs. It's so important. These are really important elements that if you can master, or at least start progressing towards mastery, you're going to see a huge difference in your serve. So Ian's already warming up over here, but what I want him to do is actually start shadowing a serve. But before he goes through, I'm going to ask him to start in his trophy position. The reason why I think the trophy position is a great place to start is because no matter what serve you're going to hit, what way you're going to take your racket up, you always have to get at some point to this trophy position. So this is a great point to start at his racket path. He might be feeling a little bit burned, so I'll let him relax here. So what we want Ian to do is start at the racket path, start at the trophy position, and he's going to trace his racket path. And what I mean by tracing the racket path, the racket is going to go down and come to this point where it's this throwing position, and then come up on edge to contact. And that's the racket path that I want him to trace. So Ian, could you start in the trophy position? Again, trace this nice racket path up to contact. Very good, very good. I'm gonna have him do it 2 times before I give you one more easy way to kind of really figure out how to get the racket drop and pulling the racket up on edge, because this could be a tricky maneuver that a lot of players struggle with, pulling the racket up on edge. So what I'm gonna do is actually take Ian's hand out of the racket, but I'm going to take the racket out of his hand and have him still start in the trophy position. Now, I love this kind of mechanism of watching what the hand does. As Ian traces it again, you're going to see how his hand starts facing towards his body here. Too many times when we're tracing and we create this open racket face, the hand is open and we don't want that. So as he's pulling the racket up again on edge, you can see how the edge of his hand is moving up and then it opens at the last second. So I'm going to have Ian trace this using his hands, checking these markers, it's facing towards, it's on edge going up, and then making contact. Now I'm going to have him go back through, and he's going to use his racket doing the exact same drill. Really take your time on tracing this and making sure that you're getting this pulling and dropping position down. And this leads us now into the second part of your serve. The second part of your serve is the contact, the all-important contact. Mr. Westerman has a great saying that the ball or the racket sends it and the path bends it, meaning that as he goes up, as he makes contact, wherever the racket face is looking at contact, that's where the ball's going to go. It's going to send the ball to a certain direction. Now the path in which his hand is going to travel up will create the spin, whether you're hitting a kick serve or slice serve or a flatter type serve that still has some spin on it. So as we work on this, start really conceptualizing what you have to do and stop at contact and making sure that first the racket face, let's see at contact, is facing where you want the ball to go. That's the number one thing, first of all. Secondly, could you trace it one more time, Ian? As he takes the racket up, how the racket's going to go up is going to create spin or lack thereof. So as you can see with this, it's kind of a pretty straight on motion. Ian, could you trace a serve, pretending that you might, let's say, add a kick to it? And you're going to start seeing how the racket starts brushing. You can really see how the racket's brushing more at an angle with the ball. And that's so important that you notice those differences. But that's the key with the contact. So if you find yourself, after you go through your video, that you're struggling with, you have the right racket path, but the contact is off because the ball's not going in the right place, that's why. So you have to really train yourself to make sure that the path and the racket is in the right place. Once you have these 2 things, I think it's a fundamental part of your serve. It's time to add some rocket fuel. Everybody wants to hit that bigger serve. What do we need to do to hit the bigger serve? And one of the biggest mistakes I think a lot of players make is they just try to throw it harder or swing harder. And what happens is it creates a lot of tension and a lot of kind of having your body not use the entire kinetic chain from the ground up. One key trigger if Ian can hold this position here, is his legs. His legs are such a key component to the serve, and making sure that we're using the back leg. So Ian, could you just relax for a second? One reason why the back leg is so important, just think about a football quarterback as he goes back, or a baseball pitcher. As they go back to throw the ball, they load this back leg to push off. That starts this whole uncoiling of the kinetic chain up into the hand releasing. And so what we want to do is have Ian go ahead and start in the trophy position. And what I'm going to do is actually, I'm going to have him balance a little bit more on his back leg. So you can really see, can you go back to what you were doing before? You can really see how he was pretty much dominantly putting a lot of weight on his front leg. And what we want to do is really stress him to have more weight on the back leg, starting the position where he's going to push up and then forward using his back leg. So great drill for this is just starting with your back, your front leg up and putting your weight on your back leg. And all you're going to do is trace your serve and hop onto the front leg. Good. That's a great drill just to start training yourself about how to do this. Once you go through these particular 3 drills, then it's time to slowly add in the ball. And once you add in the ball, I recommend that you take your time, you're not trying to kill the ball, and you really check with video to make sure you're doing the right keys in the right sequence. Now that Ian has shadowed many times and really traced those 3 fundamental parts of his serve, it's time to go into ball striking. Now, as he has the ball in his hand, he's going to go through his full motion, making sure that he's doing all these elements at 50% speed. It's so important that he begins at 50% speed. The faster you tend to go, the more it's likely that you're going to go back to your old habits. As you start to go slower, it makes it much easier to keep up and track these new developed habits that you're training. After you feel like you've gotten a hang of those new key fundamentals of your serve at 50%, it's time to go to 80%. It's time to take it up just a little bit gradually to get to 80% to make sure you can still hold strong with the 3 fundamental things that you've been working on with your serve. Now, a great drill to work on your serve and kind of take it to the next level with being competitive is something called a serve plus 1. This is a really excellent drill to really focus on where you want to hit your serve and what you want to do after it. A serve plus 1 is where you pick a target and you serve there, and then you already predetermine where you want to go with the next ball. So Ian, as you can see, is serving out wide. Megan's hitting the ball back and allowing Ian to really focus on the plus 1, which means he's going to run over, hit his forehand to the open court. This is a great drill to really, again, focus on what you're going to do after you serve and really connecting with where you're serving it and how you're going to get the ball back to win a point. Now it's time to finally get down to business. We're talking about competitive point play. A great game that you can do with a friend is to go out and play with serves, and what you're going to do is have one server serve 7 points and then the other server serve another 7 points. Again, this is a great way to combine the previous drill where we worked on serve plus 1s, where you could really predetermine where you're going to serve and then follow the next ball up. So as you can see, Ian's serving it almost like he's doing a serve plus 1, but the difference is, compared to the serve plus 1, is the point may continue. You may not exactly win the point after that plus 1. You may need a plus 2 or continue to rally to play the point. Either way, you're really focusing on what you're going to do first with the serve to put yourself in the best position to win points. Hopefully by now you've went through your action plan because it's so important. We've went over so much from ground strokes to net to your nutrition to how you need to serve. There's so much here that can benefit your game, and if you go through it just like we've talked about, we guarantee your game's going to improve. So make sure by now you should have went to 30daytennis.com to get your action plan and follow the action plan, because if you do, we guarantee, we promise to you that your game will improve.